Thank you for joining us again on another default route technical guide or technical video. Today we're going to be talking about the Standard ACL, and we've written a little tech blog here on our website covering the topic. So after the video today, go right ahead and have a look on our website, and you can read a little bit more about it there. Here's the topology we're using today. We've got three routers connected, directly connected to each other. So R1 directly connected to R2 via a /24-bit network 10.1.12.0/24, and R2 connected to R3 again with a /24-bit network 10.1.23.0. And each of these routers, have got a locally configured loopback interface. So R1 has 1.1.1.1, R2 2.2.2.2, and R3 3.3.3.3. And each of these guys is configured with the EIGRP, and they all have each of those loopback interfaces in that routing process. So let's just go ahead and just check. We've got some comms between each of these. So 10.1.12.2 is R2's fast Ethernet interface here, and we're going to ping R3, and there we go. So we've got some comms. Let's just have a quick gander at the routing table there. So we're on R1, so our locally connected 1.1.1. Well, actually it's .1, but because we've got the net mask on there, it's the network. And 2.2.2.2 and 3.3.3.3 from R3. Okay, good. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to configure a standard ACL today. And let's go into configuration mode. And let's call up the command access list, ? So we use the context-sensitive help built into iOS, into the iOS parser, just to help us out here, just to show us what we can do. So we're creating an access list, and there are all these different types of access lists. We've got extended, standard, and so on. We're going to configure a standard access list today. So we're going to choose either 1 to 99 for the IP address, or 1300 to 1999. We're going to choose 1. Because that's the first one in the list. But let's say you've got more than 99 standard ACLs and you want a few more, you can start at 1300 and work your way to 1999, and that's probably more ACLs than anyone really needs. But there you go. Access list 1. Next we've got deny, permit, remark. These are the three choices for us. Remark is basically just a description of the access list entry, it says there. But so if I was to say access list 1 remark, this next line is the firewall entry for blah blah blah, I can make that description as descriptive, as concise, as succinct, or as terse as I want. I can put whatever I like in there, but I'm going to just say access list 1 remark VTY access for, whoops, spell that right, access for, ooh, it is late here, R3. So we're going to say VTY access for R3. And then we're going to configure VTY access for R3. Now, standard ACLs don't care about protocol, don't care about port. All they care about is source IP address. So access list 1, deny permit remark. So we're going to permit access from a source. And actually, we just want the host address for the loopback interface on R3, which was 3.3.3.3. So we can say host 3.3.3.3. And then finally we can put log. Now if we don't put log, the access list will still work. It will still permit traffic from that host. But when we're doing some debugging or troubleshooting later on and we do a show access list, we won't see how many times that access list has been hit. And actually that's quite helpful, especially when you're doing your lab. You're going to want to know that kind of thing, especially when you're doing the security part of the lab. So we're going to put that keyword in there. So access list 1 permit host 3.3.3.3 log. So we're saying permit any traffic coming from host 3.3.3.3, and then tell me about it. Just to cover off a little bit there, we've got permit access 1 permit, and then we had these options here. If we wanted to, we could have permitted the same access with that statement there. So we're still saying permit 3.3.3.3, but we're giving it a host mask, a 32-bit mask. So, but we don't need to do that. It's just for a host. But let's say you wanted to do it for the network, you could do 3.3.3.0, for example, and then it's the wildcard mask. You see there with the context help again. So that's just basically saying any IP address in the 3.3.3.0 network, so from 1 through to 254. allow it in. No worries, it'll work. But we did it with the host, so we don't need any of that. Okay, so that's the access list done. Let's just have a quick look at that in the running configuration. There it is, access list 1, remark, there's the remark, that's the description we used, and then there's the permit statement for the log. So actually I've run ahead and you know, I already see something in there that maybe I should have deleted from the last, what am I doing? From the last dry run on this one, but if we access the VTY port configuration now, so that's line VTY04, when we reply, we've written the access list. The access list is done up here, but actually what we want to do now is configure the VTY ports themselves to use that access list for its security. So we've gone line VTY04, and now we go access class, and then we choose the access list number 1 because that's the one we configured, and then the direction in. So we're saying, here's access list 1, here's what we're permitting. Now we've gone into the line, and now we're adding access class 1, which is the name, which is the number of the access list we wrote, and then a direction. So that's the access list written and now applied to the interface, and that's all we've done there. So if I just do a show IP access list now, there's our access list, standard IP access list 1, line 10, permit 3.3.3.3, log. So actually just check out that, check out line 10. We didn't put line 10 in, so that comes from iOS itself. The lines are incremented in tens. You can change that in extended access lists and named access lists, but in standard ACL it just goes in tens, so there's nothing you can do about that. So we're just gonna prove that out. We'll go back in here. We'll say access list 1, and what we'll do is we'll permit the loopback interface of R2 this time. So R2, host 2.2.2.2, and we'll log that again. So this is a new ACL list. I didn't remark it this time. I should have done really, but never mind. Let's just do a show IP access list again. So standard list, so access list 1. Remember the first line was 10, permit 3.3.3, and now I added a new line, access list 1, permit host, and now standard ACL starts at 20. So there you go. So we increment in tens. There's nothing you can do about that. Standard ACL, that's the way it goes. Extended ones, you can change that. Okay, so there's the access list, and it's bound to the VTY port. So let's go ahead and just jump on R2 now, and let's telnet to the VTY port of R1. So 10.1.12.1, and I'm refused. Okay, so it was R3 I was talking about. Maybe it was R3. Let's have a look at that. So let's telnet to 10.1.12.1. Refused again. Is this down? Can I see this? 10.1.12.1. Yeah, I'm pinging that, right? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, what we did there, and I'm just fooling with you really, because what we did there was we only allowed traffic to come in from, where's my ACL? Here. From the host address 3.3.3.3 and 2.2.2.2. But on R3, when I'm telnetting to R1, I'm actually using the IP address of the interface closest to R1. When I look at my routing table, when I'm trying to get to 10.1.12.1, 10.1.12.1, I'm going via 10.1.23.2, so I'm going to be using my interface, Fast Ethernet 1.0, which actually is 10.1.23.3. So I'm going to be coming from 10.1.23.3, and R1 is only going to be allowing me in if I'm coming from 3.3.3.3. So I just need to change the way I telnet to 10.1.12.1 by using the source keyword, and I'm going to source myself from my loopback 0 interface, and this time I get through. I've not set a password yet, but I get through. So let's just do one extra step in here. which I haven't done. So I'm just going to go line VTY04, and I give myself a password, Cisco. I'm going to set up login just so that I can get in there and come out of that. Let's go back in here. Telnet, source, loopback 0, password, Cisco, and I'm in. So R3 to R1, and there we go. Let's just come back out of there. So that's using the source loopback, just to prove out the IP address of loopback 0 there. Show run interface loopback 0. So there we go. So there's the IP address of loopback 0. I've sourced it here, going to there, and the ACL on there allows me to come in from 3.3.3.3. So let's go to R2, because R2 is also allowed to talk to R1. So here we are, R2. Can't get in with that one. So let's source that from loopback 0, and there we go. Password Cisco, and there we go, in. So that's good. So now we're back on R1. Let's just see, has anyone been accessing my access list? Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, so I see we've got a couple of matches here from 3.3.3, and I got a couple of matches here from 2.2.2.2. Great. So that's all working perfectly. You know what? When we did the telnet, we used the source/source. What we could do, because that's a bit of a pain, isn't it? What we could do is override that with a global configuration command, IP telnet source interface. Yeah. So we'll say loopback 0. So this is a global configuration command, IP telnet source interface loopback 0. And now when I telnet, I don't need that source loopback 0. I can get rid of that now, because it's gonna override it with this IP telnet source interface global command here. So all I need to do now is telnet 10.1.12.1, bang, and it's straight in. Yeah. So there you go. All good stuff. And there we go. So standard ACL, and a little bit of added there for you with the IP telnet source interface, and then you just choose your source interface to save you having to do the /source jiggery pokery. Okay, well that's it. That ends the tech guide for today. Thank you for listening.